Hey, what's going on, everyone? Big contract extension comes down today between Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. This is a pretty major deal. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk had the details on the contract for the most part. So we're going to work off some of those numbers, make some assumptions in there, and hopefully clear up maybe some of the confusion that exists with this contract and kind of understand what kind of risk the Buffalo Bills took on to, I think, get a player under contract at a pretty affordable rate if he continues to play well. Obviously, this is a really big deal. You're looking at, let's see what he's got here. We're looking at $258 million contract. That's the second biggest total in the NFL. $43 million annual value, also second in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is number one in both of those categories, $45 million per year, $450 million contract. And when we get into the cash flows of this, you can make an argument that this is actually the biggest contract in the NFL. $100 million fully guaranteed. That's tops in the NFL. He is the first player to get a $100 million guarantee in NFL history. He's also got $150 million guaranteed for injury. That's also a record in the NFL. So really tremendous job in that regard. Finally, his $138 million 3-year cash, also first in the NFL. So any way you slice it, these are big numbers. These are record-setting numbers. There are some negatives, I think, in this for him. There's a lot of positives as well, I think, for him and possibly the organization as well. And so we'll get into all of that here as we kind of run through the contract. Allen is a really kind of unique story, I think, in the NFL. If you look at where he was last year, it's pretty stunning that he could get this kind of contract. I'm sorry, not where he was last year, where he was 2 years ago. You would look at this as a surprise. Going into last year, he looked like the weak link on the Buffalo Bills, comes out, has an MVP level season. Will he ever play that well again? Who knows? But as long as he is going to give you those Pro Bowl quality seasons, you're going to compete for the playoffs every year, and you can't ask for more out of a quarterback. I just threw just two little video clips together here, and you can see how good he can be.
I'm guessing. 2nd and 13. Allen deep drop. Hit as he throws it downfield for Brown. Who's got it? John Brown breaks free and scores. Touchdown, Buffalo. We told you it was shot play error.
Now you're just looking at someone who stands in there, is going to take a hit, just shows off that arm, gets to the wide open receiver there, and just hits a home run. And he was great last year with all this stuff. But we're not far removed from the same player that did stuff like this.
McCarthy. That is a huge move by the Jets. An interception.
Where you just kind of scratch your head. Now that can happen with anybody, but 2 years ago, that was pretty much Allen's career. So again, you're making that big leap of faith if you're Buffalo that what you saw last year was definitely the real deal. Quarterback contracts have been pretty risky in recent years because of the amount of guarantees that are in them. It's very hard to move on from those players. So if you're Buffalo, you are taking on a tremendous amount of risk with a deal like this, but you're also getting a lot of potential because you've got a player under contract now for 6 years, and it's at a monetary value at 43 years, probably going to be obsolete within 2 years, certainly within 3 years. And you're talking about having someone under contract for the next 8 years, 6 new years added on to this deal. You don't have to deal with the headache of the franchise tag. You control the salary cap numbers on the contract. Those are all big benefits for Buffalo. All right, so let's break down some of these numbers here, and then we'll get into the guarantees on the contract, which I think are the most confusing part about the deal. The two logical players to compare this Josh Allen's deal to are going to be Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes obviously signed that super long-term deal at $45 million a year, and Dak was the first player to hit the $40 million annual value, not named Mahomes. So they're the two players I think that have the most relevance here. Just at quick glance, this deal blows away the Patrick Mahomes deal. I know a lot of people are comparing the two deals together. There's really no comparison. Josh Allen's deal is a legitimate everywhere you go in the deal, or almost everywhere you go in the deal. It's kind of a market-setting contract. Patrick Mahomes' deal was never that. Patrick Mahomes' deal was always about salary friendly for the Chiefs throughout. It was like 2 contracts in one. First 5 years average under $40 million a year. Next 5 years average around 50. I think kind of it was set up in mind, not thinking that Deshaun Watson was going to push the market so high that Mahomes' deal might not make it through the end of this year as the top contract by annual value. So there's really no comparison between those two. Even though a lot of people are going to compare them, there really is no comparison between the two deals. Prescott's deal and Allen's deal, I think, run a little bit more hand in hand. So if you look at the year zero is your new money that you make over your existing salary. You know, he was going to make about $3.4 million this year and $23 million next year on the options. So he's going to earn an extra $40.45. Closest comparison to that would have been Deshaun Watson, who was under a similar structure, you know, had an option year and a fourth year left on that deal. Watson got $20 million new. Allen's at $40.45. So that's a really big number for Josh Allen. Year one new money, he's at $68.45. That's good, but that actually trails Dak Prescott, who got $75 million this year. So he does not get the top mark for most salary paid through the first year of a deal. He kind of splits the numbers between Watson and Prescott and kind of balances that stuff out. Russell Wilson, I think, is at 71. I didn't pull his up, but I think he's at 71, so he's going to be under him as well, probably. As you get to year two, this is where Allen makes that turn to be kind of the top deal. He goes from, you get from 95 for Prescott to 98.45 for Josh Allen. And you can see the disparity again with the Mahomes deal. Year three, we're at just about $138 million. We got 126 for Prescott. Then we get 176.5 to 160. And then as you get through and you get to year six, and you can see where Allen hits 258, that's his new money total. And you can see how it's just above Mahomes' 257.7. So I am sure that's where the number came up to be 258. It was, if we're going to do the 6-year deal, our 6-year needs to beat the Mahomes 6-year. And this is about as small of a gap as you can have it. But he will beat out the Mahomes deal, and he'll hit free agency in year 7. Mahomes has still got years and years and years to go on his contract. The interesting thing with deals like this really comes down to what you see here. Is $160 million over 4 better or worse than $258 over 6 that's virtually guaranteed? It's debatable. If you look at the way contracts have gone, and I'm kind of negative on Allen doing a 6-year deal. I think most people that follow me on Twitter would know that. Dak Prescott, all things being equal, we're assuming, of course, these players continue to play really well. Dak Prescott is probably looking at least a $50 million contract. So he's easily going to make up this number, because if on this deal he was at 95 through 2 years, and we're talking about averaging an extra $10 million a year, he's easily going to be way, way, way above this 258 number. Now, Allen, of course, is going to be able to sign an extension as well, and he's going to leapfrog again. The question is, when you do the 4-year deal like this, a player like Prescott has an opportunity to get to a third really, really good NFL contract. So he could be looking at doing a 40, a 50, and if things go great, a 55, 58. If they don't go great, probably a 45. Josh Allen is probably looking at doing the 43 now, then a 53, but then he's going to be like 36, 37 when he gets that third deal. That'll be a lot older than where Prescott is. Prescott will probably be 34, 35. That can be a big difference. So I think for this to work out for Allen, and I know a lot of people get crazy when I talk about the numbers on these. It's like, well, how much money is enough? It's not your job to kind of do that. You're trying to do what's best for the player. You're trying to, you have a very limited career, and this is all life-changing money, but you want them to maximize their potential. You're not looking to maximize the owner's money that he's going to keep in the pocket. You're looking to get as much as you can. It's not your job to manage the salary cap of the football team. They can do that. That's why they pay general managers a lot of money to manage the team. So anyway, I think for Allen, for this to be worthwhile, he has to make certain that his next contract is nothing more than a 4-year extension. If he can do a 4-year extension, he'll get to free agency a third time in a reasonable enough time to where he and Prescott will probably balance out in terms of career. Not taking into account the rookie deals. Dak was already far behind on that. And of course, Allen locks this right in. Doesn't get into the franchise tag stuff or anything like that, like Prescott had to do. So it's a debate. It's an interesting one. I think the lesser years are much stronger situations for the quarterbacks. But if you're going to do it, this is the way to do it, where you've basically got what looks like a rolling guarantee as you go through the contract. As for the guarantees, you can see $100 million is the top number. 150 is the top. So over Mahomes is 141. But when you start to look at these on a per year basis, it does paint a little bit of a different picture. He's only getting 16.7 for all these years he's given up, 25 in injury protection. Prescott's at just about 24 and 32. Watson's at 18.75 and 28. Mahomes way behind at 6.3 and 14.1. So, the numbers are not really tremendous for him. Solid, I would say, but I think he probably could have looked for more maybe at signing. But when you get into the structure of the deal, there are some concessions in there that really bump these numbers a bit higher than are really being reported. Okay, so what we have here is what I believe to be the guarantee schedule. So these were explicitly mentioned by Pro Football Talk, what you see in this top chart. What we get to in this second chart is something that was sort of mentioned, and I'm kind of connecting the dots as to how I think this works. First thing just to look at here is we know the full guarantee is about 100. We know the injury is about 150. The prior guarantee on his deal was 26.64. That was the existing money in the contract. So when you talk about risk that's being taken on, a lot of this risk is being taken on by Buffalo. They had $26 million invested in him to take a look at him the next 2 years. If you look at where that is, you're talking about a $73 million full guarantee risk and, really a 123 risk when you break down the structures. And actually, it's going to end up being more than that. So it's a lot of risk to take on to get him locked up here and now at 43 a year. Because if we assume that salaries, let's say they would go up and up a little bit. And let's even say you ended up paying $48 million a year for him. $5 million a year more than you're doing now. And let's just say you got the same terms on that. So $5 million more a year, right? You cost yourself an extra $30 million in total contract value over a 6-year period. And an extra $5 million a year. And that might be a bullish estimate. So basically what you're doing is you're taking on a risk of about 150, 160 to save yourself 30. That's a lot of risk to take on, and that's one of the reasons why some of these deals have been a little bit of a problem in recent years, and we've seen the dead money spike for a lot of players. Now if he becomes a Wentz, if he Wentzes, you're in trouble if you're Buffalo. So you are convinced if you're the Bills, based on your structure, that this is your guy. So if you look at his guarantee structure here, the $100 million that's guaranteed at signing is basically this. It's $16.5 million in a signing bonus, about $3.6 million of existing salary, $42.4 million in an option bonus that's due in 2021, his $4.1 million 2022 paragraph 5 salary, and a $27.5 million paragraph 5 salary for 2023. So basically, his 2021, 2022, and 2023 salaries are fully guaranteed. Roster bonus, option bonus, and then 5 days from now, he'll get another $6 million guaranteed, which is a roster bonus that's due in 2024. To prevent that from prorating, you basically have to put like a little time delay in there. That's why it's 5 days after the fact. Got to give time for the commission to approve the deal, make sure everything is legitimate. So you've got to wait. I think the standard might be 72 hours, but 5 days definitely covers you, so you don't get locked in on the proration part of that. These numbers here from this point forward are guaranteed for injury at signing, but become fully guaranteed at certain points in time. So if you go to 2022, on the 5th day of the league year, he'll earn a $10 million guarantee, full guarantee on his 2024 paragraph 5 salary. So his 2024 paragraph 5 salary is 23.5 total. So he'll get $10 million of that will be fully guaranteed in 2022. On the 5th day of the league year in 2023, he'll get the balance of the 2024 salary guaranteed, as well as a $16.5 million roster bonus that is due in 2025. In 2024, at the moment, he's got $1.5 million of his 2025 paragraph 5 protected, and $8.5 million of a 2025 roster bonus protected for injury. If he's on the roster on the 5th day of the league year in 2024, those will all become fully guaranteed. Now, this is where the interesting part comes into play. Florio mentions in his article that there's a rolling guarantee in here, and that it'll be about like 162.5 or 162.6, he was saying, in 2024. By 2025, it's 177.6. 2026 is 239. He doesn't mention 27 or 28, but this is what the Mahomes deal was. Basically, it was the same kind of thing as this. You had a large number of guarantees at signing, and then you had these other numbers that aren't injury protected. So basically, if there's a catastrophic injury, you don't have to worry about insurance covering you for some of these future numbers. You can get away from those because the player is going to be hurt. You move on, and you've probably got a ton of insurance on this contract. And the premiums for that, I think, can get pretty pricey. So you got a ton of insurance on the contract that will cover a lot of these injuries, I would guess, up here, but probably not much for down here. So this is kind of like your escape plan if somebody gets hurt, and a little bit of an escape if the contract turns out to be a Wentz. So what I can gather from what PFT said is that on the 5th day of the 2024 league year, he'll also have the 2025 paragraph 5 salary, of which 1.5 million was partially guaranteed before and became fully guaranteed. The other remaining 12.5 million should become fully guaranteed. That would bring his total guarantee to 162.6 through 2024. If you get into 2025, 5th day of the league year, Florio mentioned 177. So we can get to that number by guaranteeing a $15 million 2026 roster bonus. 2026, he mentioned 239 as the guarantee. So I'm assuming 5th day of the league year in 2026, he will get a salary guarantee on his 2026 paragraph 5. He'll get a $25 million guarantee on his 2027 roster bonus and a full $14 million guarantee on his 2027 paragraph 5. In 2027, my assumption is if he follows the Mahomes model, he'll get $25 million guaranteed on his 2028 roster bonus. And then in 2028, he'll get his paragraph 5 salary guaranteed for that year if he is on the roster. So that is where these numbers come in. Now, I have not confirmed these. I am just assuming, based on what he mentioned, that these are full guarantees and that these are not injury guarantees. Now, if they're just injury guarantees, that does change a lot of this, and that might invalidate the way that we run through this. So I can't be 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure the way he kind of wrote it made me think that these become fully guaranteed. So here is where there's a lot of confusion, because people look at these static cap charts that I'll put up there, or something like Spotrac or something like that'll do. And when you deal with contracts like this with so many moving parts, looking at the dead money as kind of a static number is not really a good way to do it. So let's run through this. Hopefully I won't screw this up. We'll run through this line by line, and we'll take a look at what it would cost to release him, basically before the vesting dates kick in. So the one thing that we did here, let's just look at the breakdown. This is the breakdown of his contract here. These are the bonuses that come in there. They apply to these prorated numbers. There's also an old money proration in here. So what we have here is the numbers that are in green are the values that are fully guaranteed. Again, this one is a little overstated just because it includes the old money in there. So this isn't really a guarantee. It's just that it was already paid out. The blue is money that's injury protected but not yet fully guaranteed. The yellow are the numbers that are not guaranteed but look as if they will be guaranteed in the future. And the red, which is just these workout bonuses, those are the salaries that do not look as if they will be guaranteed at any point in time. You can see the breakdown here. It's about $122 million in paragraph 5, 62 in prorated that they're going to have to account for on the cap, about 98.6 in roster bonuses, and $5 million in workout bonuses. This is the total cap number on the contract, and if you go over here, these really aren't that important. These are the cash flows each year. The total number of cash paid on this is 284. The difference between these two is that existing proration. That has nothing to do with cash. So here's the deal now. If they wanted to cut him in 2022, well, what's guaranteed? So we know what you have to pay at that point is all this prorated money. Plus, this is guaranteed already. This is guaranteed already. And that is guaranteed already. So that would be if you decided to cut him before the 5th day of the league year. At which point his $10 million of the 2024 paragraph 5 salary kicks in. So you'd be looking at a dead cap number of $93.2 million, not to mention a cash payout of this, and this, which is a lot of money. So obviously you're not going to do that, and the option bonus is protected. So obviously he's earning these 2 years. So you get into 2023. All right. Well, in 2022, he earned $10 million on the paragraph 5 here. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to add up all the prorated money from 2023 on. So we've got this. We've got the $6 million roster bonus is protected. We've got this is protected. And we earn that $10 million in 2022. That became protected. All right. So that's $87.32 million. You would lose about $50 million in cap space. So obviously you're not going to cut him there. So now you move into 2024. So what happened in 2023? So at this point, his paragraph 5 salary in 2024 is fully guaranteed. So let's change that to green. Okay, and what else did he get in 2023? He got his 2025 roster bonus. 16.5 million of that is now guaranteed. So again, we do our quick adds here. 24, 25, 26 prorated. His salary in 2024 was guaranteed. Roster bonus guaranteed, and a partial guarantee of 16.5 on the 2025 roster bonus. So you'd be looking at $78 million dead to move on from him before the vesting date kicks in 2024. So you would lose $36.2 million in cap space. And because these are guarantees, just so you know, the June 1 doesn't really play much of a role here. Your June 1 takes out just these costs. It doesn't take out these greens. On anything here and here that becomes green is stuff that you pay out. All right, so now the next thing you do is you look at 2025. So the first thing we have to do is look at, well, okay, he made it through the 2024 season. So what became fully guaranteed in 2024? So we look at 2024, 5th day of the league year. We've got a 1.5 and a 12.5. So that's his entire salary. So that's guaranteed. And the rest of the roster bonus became guaranteed in 2024. So that's this is now full. So the cost to cut here is going to be his salary in 2025. Prorated numbers here and here. And the 2025 roster bonus. So that's 59.26 and 7.98 million in savings. Loss in cap room. This might be a year where you think you might get rid of him. All right, that's a possibility. I won't say that that's out of the realm of possibility. If you needed to move on. All right, so now let's say he makes it through 2025. Now we're into 2026. So what does he get guaranteed in 2025? Well, it looks like the $15 million roster bonus is here. So if we are looking to cut Josh Allen before the 5th day of the league year in 2026, now again, this is based on what I think is going to happen in the deal, based on the Pro Football Talk report, you'd be looking at dead money of $23.5 million, which is about the savings on that based on the cap number. Now, there's no guarantee that that's exactly how it works out. I'm just making that assumption. What happens on the 5th day of the league year in 2026 is this becomes guaranteed. The 2027 roster bonus becomes guaranteed. And I think the 2027 paragraph 5 becomes guaranteed. So that would mean that our charge for releasing him the following year would be this. And then if you wanted to try to release him in 2028, at that point, he would earn, I believe, the $25 million roster bonus guarantee. So you'd be looking at 16.5 in savings. So realistically, from a realistic standpoint, the year I think that you would be looking at an escape if things went bad is probably 2026. That's probably your escape hatch, is 2026, with a very, very, very outside possibility of this year. This 2025, this would mean that it was like a absolute disaster because you'd be paying him $39 million to go away. I would say more likely you'd be looking at trading him and saving yourself the paragraph 5. You'd probably pay out the roster bonus. You could probably move that paragraph 5. And if the only other thing that's guaranteed at that point in time is a roster bonus the following year, teams would probably be willing to take that risk on. $29 million in risk for a player for 2 years. I think they might be willing to do that. But those are the 2 years. So, virtually, if you look at the cash on this, I don't think I did these as new money totals. So, realistically, you'd probably be looking at these numbers all clearly being earned. So that's 164.5. That's basically what he earns through here. And, probably the guarantee that's going to end up being over that. So, those are pretty good numbers for him overall. But this is not a contract whatsoever that there is going to be any salary cap relief from until this year. Now, one of the things that I think is smart from his side, if you see the structure on this, and again, this is all my assumptions as to how this is going to work out. If you look at this $51.3 million cap hit, that's basically begging to be restructured. I know the salary cap is going to go up. It's still going to be a huge number at 51.3. So if you look at this year and say, okay, maybe they could release him, if they can find a way to get them to turn this into like a prorated bonus or something like that, that basically ups this dead money pretty significantly. And that might offer even some further protection that's in there for him. So the reason that this vesting schedule is important is because, when we go over these downsides, compared to like the Prescott deal or something like that, what you want to do is you want to look at how much the player is going to earn based on when he's cut. And you want to look at what would be the new money annual value, and you can see how huge that would be. If he was cut in 2022, he will have earned a total of $73.45 million without even playing a new year on his deal. $84 million if he was cut early in 2023, meaning again he still didn't even play a new year on his deal. If he just plays 2023, they would owe him a ton of money, for 1 year of play. And, you just kind of go on the list. So if you look at the annual value, and this is, he doesn't play this year. So, he only plays 2022. He only plays through 2023. You don't get into manageable numbers on this deal. If you look at the $43 million number, that's like never being cut. The most manageable number for the Bills is 2026, which matches up with that. That's an annual value of about $50 million, $51 million. So that's the way that they have a lot of contractual protection in here. Is basically his numbers up front are so huge if he gets cut. There's no logical reason to think he's not going to earn this number. This total number of about 180 million. New earned on the deal of about 153, averages about 51 million. So to me, this is your safety net. If you're them, if you're Josh Allen's side, this is your downside risk, is based on this guarantee structure. You're probably going to make close to $50 million a year. And that was similar to what the Mahomes thing did, in the sense that while the numbers are not big in cash, the fact that they keep getting guarantees from the future, it really bumps up what's the total worth of the deal if they ever walk away. So that's where the strength is in this for Josh Allen. The strength is not in the actual components of the contract. They're good. These numbers are terrific, don't get me wrong. But the strength is not this. The strength is not this guarantee at signing, even though that's getting a lot of the coverage. That's getting a lot of the talk. This 258 and the 43 are getting a lot of the talk. That's not the strength of the deal. The strength of the deal is this. It's this guarantee structure. It's the fact that he is really insulated from being released for pretty long time. So the Bills have to have this, that they bet right. They have to have bet right on him, to make this deal worthwhile. Now, I'm not saying they have to get to never cutting him, but realistically, they probably have to get to never cutting him. But at least you can justify a little bit of the risk if he's released at any of these points. But you made a giant mistake if you're releasing him there, because that means somewhere in here things went bad. Unless we're talking about injury. If we're talking about injury, you throw that stuff out. It's completely different. So anyway, hopefully that explains a little bit as to how this contract works, if we look at it as kind of a living, breathing contract based on vesting dates, and how these numbers are going to change over time as each year goes on in this contract, and where he's protected. So that's the breakdown on this one. We'll be back with another video at some point. I thought I was going to do something on Nick Chubb, but I guess we'll talk about that on the podcast. If you guys have any interest in me doing something like a YouTube Live or running something on Twitter, let me know here, or you can always leave me comments at Jason_OTC on Twitter, or you can email me at overthecap.com. So you guys know where you can find me, and you can let me know some stuff that you might find interesting that we can do to kind of get the interaction levels up a little bit more at OTC. All right, so everyone have a great night, and I'll talk to you all again soon.